Well, the very same people who scream, "My body, my choice," and put it on their t shirts have identified a new cause tonight. A lawmaker in New York is proposing legislation that would, quote, mandate vaccinations if any of the serfs are foolish enough to refuse to take the new coronavirus vaccine. What happens if people refuse? Well, we don't know. In New York, it might depend entirely on the color of your skin.
This has to be done in a way that protects social justice. The healthcare system discriminates against Black, brown, and poor communities. By effect, you have fewer healthcare facilities in poorer communities. That is a fact. We want to make sure when we do the vaccine that it is done in a just and fair and equal way.
So, like most rational people, we're not against vaccines. We're for vaccines. The polio vaccine saved millions of children. But in this very specific case, let's be clear, if the people in charge force the population to take this vaccine, we can have a legitimate crisis on our hands in this country. Victor Davis Hanson is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. He joins us tonight with his thoughts on where we might be going. Professor, thanks so much for coming on. What do you make of this?
Thank you. Well, I should say I'm not a doctor, I'm a historian, and I'm 67, I have a few health issues, so I'll probably eagerly take the vaccine. But I think what they're trying to err on is that they want to encourage people to get as 70%, 80%, 90% either who have been infected with antibodies, and it's not as much as we thought. It's probably 30 million, so we've got another 200 million to go. And so we can get so-called, the taboo word, herd immunity, and that means we're going to have to rely on a vaccination. And we didn't think when this thing hit us in March, we thought, oh, well, in 10 months we'll have effective therapeutics. They're coming, but they're not here yet. That'll just cure it, or we'll have a vaccination early, or we won't have 300,000 dead. So they have to find the fine line. And then behind all this, Tucker, is the 1976 swine flu epidemic. And that's when we were told that it was going to wipe out, it's going to be another 1918. It started in a military base. Legionnaire's disease was attributed to it. We have to rush a vaccine. We rushed a vaccine in 9 or 10 months. I got it. I remember getting it and being very ill as a student from it for about 10 days. And it made a lot of people sick. In fact, some got Guillain-Barré syndrome. And after 25% of the population was inoculated, they said, A, it's too dangerous, or it has too many side effects, but B, and more importantly, it didn't materialize. And that was unfortunate because it cast a pall over what's very necessary for vaccinations. So historically, the courts have ruled that states have a right to, in 19th century, put a quarantine on people, or sorry, you can't go to school unless you've had a polio vaccine, or you can't go to work unless you've been smallpox, and that was wise. But they usually adjudicated that by saying, how are we in a pandemic and is it a lethal thing? So get a flu shot, but you don't have to. We recommend shingles, but you don't have to. And then COVID comes along and they don't know what to do because 99.5% under the age of 60 are not going to die from it, but maybe 13 or 14% over the age of 75 might, and they don't know, and it's very infectious, but they don't know how to calibrate it. So you have people like this sounding off, we're going to coerce people, where the smart thing I think to do is encourage as many people you can and keep flexible. So you don't coerce people, and you don't go back to 1976 and force people to do it or mandate it and then have it blow up in your face, but hope that the 30 million that have antibodies, or maybe it's more, it might be 11%, 20%, maybe not vaccinate them. Historically would say you might not want to vaccinate them first. Vaccinate people on the front lines that are continually exposed to viral loads, people over 60, and then give other people the choice and hope that they vaccinate, but don't coerce them to. And you're going to get close to 50 or 60%, and maybe it'll wane a little bit why that last cohort that's not as susceptible will make that choice for themselves. And you can educate them, and hopefully they'll do the right thing and get vaccinated if it's safe.
You hope so. You can't treat people like animals. You have to win them over. You can't. Threatening people doesn't increase trust.
No, you have to win them over. And we didn't do that in '76. And when the AIDS epidemic came out, people, I think, were too hesitant because they thought, we don't want to go and rush in a vaccine or a new treatment. Look what happened in '76. And
no,
that's a
really good
so
point.
I think we're trying to balance the extremes of both coercion and then just laxity. And so far, I think people will make the right decision.
I think
But they're
so too,
educated.
if you let them. Victor Davis Hanson, thank you for that.
If you let them. Thank you.
So all of a sudden you wake up and identity politics is playing a role in the distribution of a vaccine that's not quite here yet.